gamers. Here I am in yon garage. Just going to show you guys my setup for terrain, what I have built, working on all that good stuff. So here I have a pretty large table. This bad boy, to give you the size reference, this green mat that is on it is a 6x4 green mat. Ancient by comparison of all the neoprene goodness that's out there now. Just a thin felt mat, serves its purpose well. Sitting on a 3/4 MDF board. I didn't want any plywood or anything like that because I didn't want rough surface to hurt my mat. I wanted a nice smooth surface. So everything else goes on my mat, and that's how it should be. Underneath my table I made a giant void, and really the table, it's on casters with reinforced. Everything's reinforced because I didn't want anything to happen to this bad boy. I've got MDF old wall paneling that was in my old house in Williamsburg. Took that off. You can see the white goodness from that old wall paneling. I don't know why people do that, just a place for mold to build up. Anyway, we've got a Sterilite, a 3-shelf deal. You can get at Walmart, very cheap. It has a bunch of linear obstacles in there. I just got done priming and actually building most of these fence sections for a cemetery board, but it can also be for any kind of board. There are fences in there, just sections. And I have a bunch of hedges. These are neat because it's Brillo pad. And I mean, I've primed it and painted it. It doesn't come out this color, but it's Brillo pad that you fold in half with a smooth side up, and you just run super glue down one half, fold it and stick it together, slap it on your piece of MDF board, more wood paneling, and flock it. Of course, you got to paint it, dry brush it, give it out this nice texture, looking like a hedge. So I've got plenty of those. Actually, I have more than I need to paint. I have more bits and bobs down there, actual Games Workshop old tombs that they used to sell up at the old Battle Bunker Glen Burnie. I think that's still a thing. But you need some more, all kinds of terrain. Weeds, that's right, because those are my rocks. So you need all kinds of different terrain. I was a big fantasy player, so a lot of terrain that I have is fantasy. But my interests have shifted, whatnot. So I've got one of these. That's a nice organizer. It takes up a chunk of the void. Then I have 2 of these metal racks, and these things you get at Home Depot. Any of the big box stores would have them, Lowe's and whatnot. And they're nice because you still have access to all of your stuff. They're not good for dust prevention, so you're gonna have to dust off your goods. But I have these little plastic deals. I have tons of those. They're yarn, I guess, storage bins, and I bought these at Target. I just kept going back. They would change the color of these little clasps, which irritated me. So I've got some greens, and I've got these orange ones as well. But inside those, I've got the little blinking LED explosion markers and some little sets of trees for right there. These are my area terrain deals, just so you know the border of the forest. And I stick individually based trees on top of that, so that whenever a unit would move into it, you would just move the trees around. So you still have the outline of the forest, so the rules still apply, but you have the true footprint of the unit instead of just having one model up front, and you wouldn't really know the orientation. That one model just designates this unit's inside the woods. The woods just engulf the whole unit, which I've never enjoyed. So that's why I made this. It's made to kind of blend into the board. It's very, very nice. This has seen some wear. but it's MDF as well, so very sturdy. I can just cover it back up with some glue, hit it back with the same type of flock, and we're good to go. I never liked building with cardboard bases. I did that back in the 90s. Cardboard would warp with glue, and the foam that we used would melt with primer. So it's kind of like, ugh, I hated doing that. So that's why all of my stuff is MDF. I just finished these little buildings here. Shingles made out of folder, cardboard, and all this stuff is just, it's foam core with balsa wood. Very, very primitive doors, because what I want to do is make this for, kind of makeshift stuff for bolt action, kind of a deal. And the roofs all come off. You can stick a few guys in there if you want to. If you're just running like a flamethrower team, you want to be a DB in a like little house. But actually, bolt action Conflict 47 don't have really good rules for being in houses. That's probably a dangerous place to be, because if somebody on the outside has a flamethrower, whoo, yeah, you got some cooked dudes in there. But anyway, so I've got some bigger houses, and then down there, that's like in a large house, and then that's a multi-level inn. It all pulls apart. But anyway, those are all like custom build things, and I just need to finish up these two. I just ran out of balsa wood. Above that, I've got some hills, some swamps, river sections that I made by myself. Very nice little projects. I need to touch up the river a little bit, but back when I started building terrain, I was going off of the old 7th edition Warhammer Fantasy book, and I'm like, I'm going to build every single piece of terrain that's in here, so whenever you roll on the table to bring out pieces of terrain, I will have it. And I got my goal, but Warhammer Fantasy 7th, Warhammer Fantasy is dead. Thank you a great deal, GW, you bunch of pole smokers. Anyway, here I've got a giant lake. The water effects aren't holding up too well, but I can pour more over it and it might look cool. Who knows? Underneath that, this big box, and I actually have a mat here as big as the mat up above, this one. So this mat is actually a hex mat. It's a Monday night publications, and I think I got that mat for only like $20, something like that. But in here is a bit more expensive. I think this costs $75. It is the Styrofoam Hills that have the exact same hex pattern as the mat. GeoHex makes this. Some Styrofoam Hills and some more of these plastic mold hills as well. These were a bit smaller. I think that they made them really for not bolt action, my fault, for Flames of War type scale, but I still like them anyway. Little undulations in the earth are always awesome. So there you got some things. A little bit of airbrush stuff down there. On these last two, I have some paints, some airbrushes, some skewers with alligator clips on the ends. I'll show you some of that stuff later. Cleaner on this side, which will be a different video with all my Merc stuff. Go to mercsminiatures.com and get your stuff, because it's a great system, great models. But I've got some very special mats there that came to me from a buddy. And then here is something interesting. I've got 3 of them, and they're these little plastic dividers I got at work one day when I had, a job. Right now I'm a stay-at-home dad, but here is what I use to prime items on. I don't do much of the airbrush primer. I have, don't get me wrong, but for my bulk models and stuff like that, I just want to do a nice gray, or like you can tell, I did my brown on those fences. And I also have some tombstone strips I'll show you here in a second that I did on here. And so I got that brown down, but usually I like to go with a gray because you can lighten it up or darken it up however you want. It's enough to see your details, and I just like to do that. You can tell by the state of thickness of paint on here that I have done quite a bit of priming on these bad boys. They've been with me for a few decades. So, and anyway, I'll go ahead and focus on this thing real quick. Gale Force 9 Battlefield in a Box. Anybody that doesn't know about it needs to know about it. And here I'm going to preach about them. These guys are awesome. Their products are awesome. I love them. This is just one of many that I have. I've got like the Toxic Pool set. I've got the, real like blue water pool set. I love these guys. Battlefield in the Box, man, it is what's up. Their stuff is just amazing. And it comes painted. I didn't do this. It comes painted like this. Now, nowhere in the history of Earth are you going to find a ruined building with a daggone fireplace that is that clean. So that needs to be sooted up. It needs to look like a fire's been in there. Maybe put some debris in there. But I guess it was beyond the scope of what they were doing. But hey, I love it. I love it. It's modular, which I absolutely adore. I've always loved modular terrain, which will bring me to the next piece that I've got here, this giant set of dead zone terrain. And this is why I like dead zone. I really hate res stick models, kick them in the butt. I really love this stuff. The plastic that this material is made of is wonderful. The modularity is wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful. This is the best terrain available for sci-fi games. Period. Stick a pin in it. This is the best terrain. And if you say anything else, you're just wrong. Let's just say that right now. You're wrong. So here I've got, this set is like $300 almost. You've got an entire ruined city of set of terrain. That's about like $145. You've got the Kickstarter version of the landing platform set. And it's like this big tower comes with it and some of the odds and ends. And that is, and I spent like, I don't know, $60, $70 on that. And I also bought the industrial set. So it came with the pipes and it came with the conveyor belt, which is awesome. They're both beautiful pieces. I really loved rusting up and, making this pipe piece. I think it looks great on the tabletop. And it comes with all these little containers and scatter terrain. So I just love it. I love this set. On here, I do have some other add-ons. I've got the Star Saga stuff, some monitors from Star Saga. This thing came with the pipes, and actually I don't have all of it built because this is supposed to accept the small caliber pipe, and I don't have those built. They're not even cleaned, because what I'm doing is I'm going to wait for a big for another building set to come my way, and I'll have that pipe creeping up the side because I think that would just look awesome. So I've kept all the attachments for that so it can mount on walls, and that's exactly what I'm going to do with it. I think that would be lovely, lovely, lovely. But yeah, Star Saga gives you, there it goes, gives you these really nice containers. I did the fade on this with an airbrush, of course. That's what you do. So dark to a light green. Kind of wish that they made some transfer bubbles, so you can just, slap some transfers up there with some bubbles going up. Looked really hard, but all I could find was silly little balloons for parties and stuff, like little transfers for balloons. I don't know. Maybe people were making Pinkie Pie models or something, and they needed decal for her stuff. Don't confuse me with a brony. Do not do that. I have 2 daughters, and they love My Little Pony. So I've watched everything. Anyway, this mat that they're on is Mats by Mars, and it is a wonderful industrial mat. Really blends in with the way that I painted the terrain. I had this terrain idea in mind before I got the mat. It just really worked out that they had one with a white bottom to it. And I went with white for two reasons. One, I wanted the models to be visible, like boom. I wanted the models to be showcased up against the white. And if you look here, everywhere where I have little scatter pieces of terrain, it really pops. And I wanted that for one, video, and for two, to be able to identify stuff. I didn't want people to hide stuff. Now, if somebody rolls in here with an army of storm shadows, well, what can you do? But for most armies, miniatures and stuff, we'll be able to instantly spot things and see things. And plus, the second one is I love the burnt paper look. You get the layer of black and the dark brown that fades into the white. I just think it's a really nice fade. And also, it takes weathering really well too. So with this, simple dry brushings over a gray primer, guys. It's easy. And then you just airbrush the mess out of the edges and, you know, pick out the details. You know, you can have all these pieces of rebar black. It makes it easier to just dry brush, you know, the silver rat over it, and it keeps the black in the threads. It's gorgeous. So I love it. What I did with my terrain, I did not do like I guess a fair number of people, and they leave it all to where you can take off the clips and whatnot. No, thank you. I don't like terrain that's flimsy, falling apart on you and whatnot. So I left mine modular but glued. So we'll take, I'm sure you can see the tower here. You know, I'm gonna take my shooty off. And the monitor. Really fantastic pieces of terrain. Star Saga. I think it's worth getting that Star Saga terrain set. So I made sure to, on the bases of all these pieces, I made sure to dry brush funk. So if you set it by itself, it still looks pretty natural. So, I mean, I've got 3 pieces of terrain there, and it also makes a Gigantor tower. So, pretty awesome. All of these things are kind of like that. Kind of, I say. Like this deal here. I got myself the wheelchair accessibility. My little air handler. And then a little piece. Blown out little piece. I just love how that white and black and brown look together. Slowly melted, you know, and it's just wonderful, you know, distressed white. It's just, I don't know, I love it. Really enjoy doing things like that. And then, you know, metal bits. Who doesn't love rusting up metal stuff? It's enjoyable. And as another add-on, so I've got Star Saga. I got the stuff from, you know, all the add-ons that I purchased, but I also got a butt ton of alien eggs from a seller on eBay. These are resin cast guys plagued with a bunch of holes and stuff, but the holes kind of make it even more gruesome. And I just painted them up with this green color scheme with purple, you know, just to make them look properly alien. Of course, with green, you just go over it with a little bit of yellow. You know, so it's like 2 different greens, aggregate earth shade, and some little yellow highlights. And the purple, you know, I just made a mix of the purple color and white together to give it the highlight, because I didn't have anything proper. And of course, you want to, after you give it the dull coat to seal the paint job, you go over the inner gooey bits with a nice coat of varnish. Make it gross, because that's what's up. And I love looking at those little holes that burn up, man. That's awesome. And of course, I can't stress enough to get the Star Saga, because benches, picnic tables, it's what's up, man. Like, I really want to get a little kid lunchbox, you know, kind of like an A-Team lunchbox or something with an apple, a banana, you know, a thing of high C, you know, fruit drink box right there, and just, you know, have it tell its own story. Just somebody's down there eating lunch, and all of a sudden here comes an alien queen laying a bunch of eggs right there. On another note, with this terrain setup, it's going to come with these bits, and these are really cool bits, but whereas you see how I have the ballast glued in here, these things come smooth. It's not covered with this texture, and that is off-putting to me, because this is supposed to be rubble, it's supposed to be debris. So I left the big chunks of block, but then you have to have the soil, and having it smooth, it doesn't make it look right. So it's a lot of work, guys, but I would highly suggest taking the time and glue around all these little blocks and stuff, and then dipping the whole mess into a bag of ballast. Just, you know, please do it. It makes it look so much better. You can see it here. It's so much better. And take the time, like with my little technique with my X-Acto knife, and if it's glued too much on a block, you know, just scrape the ballast down, get it off of there, expose that block surface, and you'll have a really nice, texturally pleasing piece. It's satisfying. It's like, yeah, this is dirt and rubble. So, and when you're dipping it, you've got this perfect handhold of the I-beam. Just, there you go. It does have a seam line right in the center. So, yeah, go that extra step and clean that seam line up. You know, make sure it doesn't exist on the top of the model. And then realism is yours. You have a chunk of debris. I mean, how beautiful is that? Now, in this set, I had to do that like 7 times or something. It was ridiculous. But I love it. I love it. Okay. I'm going to go over my airbrush equipment here, because I'm not going to talk about that yet. And probably won't talk about the skewers yet. The other side is mostly like stuff, fireworks and stuff like that. Oh, some Singaporean beer. But here's my little, this is a bathroom organizer thing, I guess, for bathroom stuff. You put it on your countertop and whatnot, but this is a perfect primer rack, and that's exactly what I turned it into. I have some GW stuff. Oh, look at you. Oh, you're so sad back there, you 40 piece of terrain. And that thing is pretty monstrously expensive. So anyway, we're gonna go over here to some storage. Don't mind my friends hanging up there. They cheated last game and they got what they deserved. Anyway, all right. My small little cabinet here has some pretty interesting things. If anybody remembers these bad boys, let's go over here. So they're the Games Workshop resin kind of Forge World-y bits that came in a pack of 6, I believe, and they were actually when GW had a soul and had good value in products. Some Warlord games, sandbag emplacements for some Conflict 47 goodness. I was pretty silly and only got 2 packs of that and only 2 packs of these craters from Warlord games. Very nice pieces. Here I've got stuff that I don't think you could find, like trash piles and stuff. I forget who makes it. And if I come up with the name, I will definitely let you guys know. But these things were amazing. I got them off eBay. They're resin solid chunks, but I love my trash. And especially for Necromunda, Mercs. And if these were a square size and shape and you could measure it properly, dead zone. But for, you know, in all intents and purposes, this is for Mercs and this is for Necromunda. but perfect for those games. Now, I have several of these chunks. I mean, they're all different. All different chunks. I even have a pile of hubcaps. Like, who doesn't need a pile of hubcaps, right? Check those bad boys out. Love it. You know, if you're a gamer, black and red barrels, it just happens. Scatter terrain is what you need. So that's what you get. Here I've got my strips of tombstones. Like I said, I'm, you know, want to build a cemetery board, so you got to have them. Up here, I have some completed. These were initial projects, the initial 3 that I did, and I'm like, I need more. And these were, the tombstones are all from the zombies and skeleton sprues of the old 1990 type. Actually, you know what? No, I think it's the 2000s, because they started adding tombstones. They didn't have them in the original skeletons. So yeah, and the pointy tombstones are from the zombie sprues of the 2000s, and they were of a gray material. And the tombstones here were of a bone color, and they were from the skeleton sprues. So, Chromelec, another company that I absolutely love. These are my objective markers. I figured if I'm going to have objective markers, they're going to be junk objective markers. I love them. I love these things. So much detail, so much character. Chromelec knocks it out of the ballpark. These are some, you know, functional dumpsters, and they're to scale, and it's Reaper. And Reaper also makes these, which I absolutely love, the containers. And these containers are awesome because they're usable. So these were not so great 3D prints from a guy on eBay or something. I'm like, shoot, may as well give it a try. I know 3D printing's come a long way, and I know you guys are going to say, oh man, don't diss this stuff. And I admit, this is several years ago when 3D printing was as-tastic. But yeah, I couldn't say I'm very happy with it. Now, I could put a very distracting paint job on this and put all kinds of decals and stuff, but yeah. And the one thing I can say is that it came with several different designs, several different sizes. The variety was amazing, and the guy put his heart into it. You could tell. And probably, if he had a new machine with these same designs, it would be rocking. So I got 4 containers because, hey man, Necromunda, Mercs, you're going to use those things. And I have 2 dumpsters too. So that's my scatter terrain little cabinet. These are cabinets. The top 2 here, this one and the one akin to it, I scavenged from our kitchen at the old house. But it's okay because I renovated kind of. This is a tower of GW nonsense. I have it, all the spiral staircases match up and whatnot. I cleaned it of dust and whatnot because it was sitting right down there with the Fortress of Retribution. So I felt pity on it, and I wanted to get my fantasy terrain up and running. Because I feel with this set, I'm good with sci-fi. I feel that this covers all of what I need. Even if I need to break it apart and have it scattered all over the board here for a bigger game, say Warpath for Dead Zone, or for the Dead Zone universe, the Warpath universe, I could do that. I think I only have one faction that I could possibly get a big enough group of guys together for that. But anyway, so I took pity on it. Here is a small little brother. Actually, he's the broken brother. There is a smaller version of that I don't own, and I don't really care to. And I think it looks like butt. But I've got this bad boy all painted up. And this was all by hand. No airbrush involved. Yeah, the skulls, they're a nice touch, you know, they're a nice touch. So, Yeah, did that all up. The nice little zinc symbol back behind that. Ooh, it's all hidden. Yay. So, yeah, I built that and painted it. And it's morbid, yes. So, yep, you guys saw a peek at it. Yep. Now, back when I got this, they didn't reprint it, so the thing was stupid expensive. It's still stupid expensive, even with the reprint. But this is a reissue, whatever you want to call it. This is the Layer of the Astromancer. I know that they call it something goofy and stupid now. Layer of the Astromancer was way cooler than that. And I'm in the process of painting, and I think it's going to be my next terrain piece painted. I had to take a break from painting terrain because I painted the Garden of Moor. And if anybody knows about the Garden of Moor, it is a butt ton of detail. It's a butt ton of rust, a butt ton of... It's really pretty when it's done. But oh my gosh, it's terrible. Here, get out here, Layer of the Astromancer. That's the observatory part. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I have it to where it can have the turret castle part too. This thing's awesome. I forgot who makes it, but it comes pre-painted. It's, you know, I mean, it's a little juvenile, like, you know, it's got the stairs that go all the way up, but the tower itself, I mean, it's definitely for just one homie up there whizzing spells at the top. You can see his little, this is what I call a balcony. It's an extended windowsill, you know. It's like you're taking your life in your own hands. You step out on none of that and a strong wind comes, especially if you're wearing robes and a cone hat. Come on, bro. So, yeah, you're taking your life in your own hands. But it's a funky little wizard's tower. It's pretty awesome. It goes in any game, really. And that was years. I got that years after I built my own. Get out of here, Forge World Peace. This is a Pringles can. Hold on, no lie. You guys need to check this mess out. All right. Styrofoam cup, bro. Right here. File, folder, cardboard. The top is a little bit more sophisticated. That is plastic card, balsa wood. Okay. That's exactly what that is. Around here, this is the evergreen like stone. It comes in a sheet. So what I had to do with this, I glued the outside of the Pringles canister. I wrapped the sheet around it, and some parts are deformed a little bit. Not too much, because I walked around this bad boy gently with a lighter to help bend it. But then, you know, I just put probably 5,000 rubber bands around there and held it for probably a month in place. The gargoyle is from Mordenheim. Of course, balsa wood around that. The door is actually metal, and that comes from Games Workshop itself. Yes, I'm that old to have those terrain features. I went up to Glen Burnie to go get that bad boy. And of course, another Mordenheim gargoyle. It shows a bit of damage there. And then, of course, you know, I just rough-hewn some balsa wood and lichen, rocks. If I wanted a better, smoother transaction here, I should have put ballast in among the rocks and spread it out. And probably ballast the whole surface of this, and then put the lichen and static grass and maybe tufts on top of it. Of course, back when I made this, tufts did not exist. You had to make your own by pinching static grass, okay? Or elephant grass is what they call it back then and whatnot. I felt that this was high tech, but you know, you can see how old it is. My lichens have turned brown. Maybe it's due for a base freshening. Who knows? But check the base. Yeah, that's right. AOL, bro. You guys remember that? Back in the day. Yes. Very, very cool. But what I liked about it is that it had this 45-degree angle bevel. It totally fit with fantasy bases. I was like, this is unbelievable. I'm keeping these. So, yeah, a little bit of old history. I love it. I love it. And here we go. This is the mile marker for Drakenhoff Castle. Yes, the spikes on top, broke right the hell off. Those things were hot garbage anyway. It never lasted on any piece. This thing actually just recently got painted. It was Halloween. Okay, right now it's December 14th, 15th, something like that. But it was Halloween just now, and I just went crazy. I made all the tombstones on strips of balsa wood, or on MDF. I painted this. I painted the garden more. I was losing my mind. I'm just like, Halloween. So, and I did paint a CCC heavy in the Halloween colors. So I think I did my Halloween paint jobs very, very good this year. Very happy with myself. They should all have the undead flair in them. But yeah, nothing like a whole bunch of dead dudes chilling. And actually, if I could find it, I have a big pile of bodies on a plastic piece. And I've got those painted. It might be due for a repaint, actually. But, and actually up above here, because everyone needs their stash of balsa, baby. So, yeah, find a place to stash your balsa away from kids, because kids will destroy your balsa. That's a pro tip, guys. Pro tip. Okay, here I have a whole mess of stuff. All right, dare I take this out? I want to show you guys, but I don't want to drop it. This is like my baby. All right. And actually, it may stay on this tabletop because I don't want to transfer it just yet. Okay, this thing, super duper sexy. I love it. It's the Forge World Cemetery piece. This is the main piece of it. They made a bigger piece. You could buy this piece separately, but they made a bigger piece that came with all this beautiful fencing. It was this huge amount of fencing, and it doubled the price of the piece. I was very fortunate. I got this in a trade with a friend of mine, and I just love this piece. It is my favorite piece. Forge World can make whatever it wants to, but this is my favorite Forge World piece. It's just a solid, it's a brick o' resin. And whenever you get a brick o' resin from Forge World, you've got something there. The only thing amiss with this is right up here, their blatant rip-off of Army of Darkness. These skulls each had a candlestick protruding from the top with a little flame on it. Those didn't last, just like the little spikes on the mile marker for Drakenhoff Castle. Just did not last. So, but anyway, so that is removed. Ooh, what does it have? Ooh, it's a stairwell to... Come on, light. Light, I know you want to do your thing. Dude, there's a door down there. Oh, no. And I have no other light source with me. There's a door down there. And there's a bone in the... Yeah, you see the bone. That's right. That's what happens with people that go down there. So anyway, right next to it, we've got old Klaus. Oh, and they did him a dirty. Oh, look at that. That fancy steak sitting right up there. If you guys get one of these, if you're fortunate to get one of these, take your time and paint this thing well. It's such a treat. Such a treat to have it. Such a treat to look back on this and say, yeah, you know, I painted the mess out of this. And, you know, you go through and you're like, okay, this isn't much detail. It's just a bunch of dirt and then a bunch of skulls chilling in a inside the mound, right? There's a bunch of skulls in there. But if you look, dude, there's all these bone fragments everywhere. Always the back end of a skull, like all these bone fragments is part of a jaw, you know, it's littered. I mean, this is not an easy thing to paint. The details start just popping right at you instantly. I love it. It will be cremated with me when I go. So sorry guys, you'll never see this on the secondary market. It's going with yours truly. Anyway, all the hate that I have for that company, I just adore that piece. So here we've got some Russian-made terrain, guys. And these things, they were really great until the Dead Zone stuff came along. So don't even mess with these anymore. but they clip together pretty good, and they also break apart pretty good too. I have several versions of it and several different kinds, but I do like these. There's also this, which is really great. It gives you the tanks. You can build a bunch of different sizes of those tanks. But now, with 3D printing the way it is, booyah, you don't really need to hunt this stuff down and build it. But right there is also the power plant. Yeah, back there is some crappy terrain from a shit company. Who needs that stuff? And there's another one of those back there too. But then here's some more from that shit company. But this is actually worth the price of admission, I think. We'll just go with the main bit here. I have everything else painted. But yeah, a labor of love. All the rust and every little nook and cranny. You got the nihilic oxide and the little cross and the black roses and the dead dudes. After doing this particular piece of terrain, I got really sick of painting little bitty teeth. You paint so many teeth. It's ridiculous. It's like, this isn't a cemetery to corn. This is a cemetery. It's a cemetery to dudes. So yeah, front and back, bruh. Deal with it. They even stuck the obligatory guy right up there, right next to the big stone one. The macro on this really makes me mad. So anyway, and then of course my gate is a little ajar. Just enough. It looks closed, but if you're really wanting to get in, you can get in there. You know what I'm saying, guys? So this is my terrain. I've got 2 more pieces in the house in my display cases. You guys should have seen it. Of course, the water heater adds class to the whole thing. I do have a big enough house to have this in the house. The problem is the wife. She just won't let it happen. Plus, this big table is one piece and I can't get it inside the house unless I knock a wall out. And I don't want to hear talk about disassembling it because the top here, that's a solid piece. And I lifted it up here on my own. I don't think I needed to screw it down, but I did. And I'm not lifting this ever again. I just, it was about 10 years ago I built this, and I'm not the man I used to be. I don't think many of us are. So, but that's what I have going on. Cases, so my stuff doesn't get goobered on with dust, which happens in our profession. Dust happens. I do have this out just for display purposes, really, because I love looking at it. But it can all be taken down really quickly. I've got and then just lift the whole thing. Like, boop, there's one piece. Yeah, and that's a pretty good chunk too. It takes up a fair amount of table. I have to tell you guys, the dead zone modular terrain is where it's at, and it looks great. Another good thing about the terrain, it's not festooned with freaking skulls, man. I can understand a cemetery, which is fine. But a regular office building where people go to work, what the hell, man? Yeah, I just don't like it. I don't care for it. It's not cool. So, in my opinion, fantasy, do the dead zone stuff. You got sci-fi or whatnot, man, totally rock the Battlefield in the Box from Gale Force 9. They still sell it. It's on eBay. Go get it. Go get some, guys. That's a general rule, right? Go get some. But this is my table. This is my setup. It is in a garage, but I tell you what, the garage was recently insulated and covered. I mean, this was just nothing but studs. So it is nice and warm during the winter. It is uncomfortable during the summer, but what can you do? I put a coat on this thing. Right here, Merck's Miniature Posters. They don't make these anymore, but they could. They could. My buddy Derek has these things. He has access to them, and he could reproduce these things. They could show up on a shop. Definitely go and see his shop. It's up there, mercsminiatures.com. You guys won't regret it. Very cheap to buy into the game. You can run yourself, you know, this exact setup. You know, run it. Get crazy with Mercs and just run around the little corners and stuff. Man, I love that with the old school Necromunda. With Mercs, it's wonderful. With Dead Zone, it's wonderful. Get that cool low model count, urban feel. You can paint the stuff up super fast and get games in. So, guys, that's all I've got for you right now for my terrain setup. I'll make different videos here coming up. But, yeah, carry a lazen, my friends. Bye-bye.